You're listening to the Public Speaking Podcast.
The podcast where real humans talk about communication, presentations, meetings,
and what happens when you stand on stages around the world.
The good stuff.
And the awkward stuff.
And the stuff nobody teaches you.
All right, let's jump into today's episode. Welcome back to yet another episode of the Public Speaking Podcast.
Yes!
This is your show host, Lucas. I'm the CEO of Headgain Amateur Speaker, and in the blue corner, my favorite person on the planet, the green guy, the happy guy, the graveyard guy. And he's also eating a lot of meat today. I'm not sure why, but it's maybe something he'll share, or maybe not. It's Mr. Alexander Grabner.
Thank you very much, Lucas. Yes, thank you very much. My name is Alexander. I am a communication coach, making you shine on any stage that you have in the near vicinity whenever you have a chance to. Regards to the meat, Lucas, here's the thing. I ate a little bit too much of the good stuff over the summer break. Leading into that, I put myself on that little beautiful thing that shows the weight. I shouldn't have done that. So that's where I'm now going into. It's just protein, and a bunch of pills. Hashtag all legal. They're not illegal. They're all legal, just so we don't get a misconception.
As we said, what has not passed through the Alex body?
That is, well, let's focus on this episode today. We have a guest with us, and I am going to be frank with you. When I first got introduced and I found and I was listening in to what she does, it literally blew my mind, because I am a very simple man. Leading into that, I'm not a very smart man. But when I got to know her, got to see what she's doing, she made me feel that, yeah, I can understand this. I can start figuring things out. And it makes sense. So I was so happy that we now have the chance and opportunity to have her as a guest. So therefore, hey, I just want to welcome to the stage and to the studio, Biliana!
Hi. Hello, everyone. Very, very happy to be here. This beautiful energy, and I'm sure we're going to create something nice all together.
That's what you're saying now. Just wait until the end of the episode. Is like if the same energy and the same enthusiasm is there. No, Biliana, the treat is on us to have you here. We're so delighted, so happy to have you on board. So before we jump into what you are and who you are and who you do you help, we have something that we want to push through you, and that's where we're going to push through you and really barbecue on the 10
tough thoughts with Alex.
And Lucas doing nothing in this segment. That means that I'm going to ask you 10 tough thoughts. It's just going to be two different things that I'm going to push out towards you. So the one that you feel most leaning into, you're just going to answer that. And it needs to be rapid. So it's rapido for this 10 tough thoughts, where Lucas is doing nothing and Alex is doing everything. So are you ready, Biliana?
No, I was not expecting this.
I know. Good. And here we go. 10 tough thoughts. Fast food or fine dining?
Fine dining.
Water or wine?
Oh, wine.
Swimming or walking?
Walking.
Car or motorcycle?
Car.
Beep, beep, beep. Off-grid or city?
City.
Red or blue?
Red.
Online or face-to-face?
Face-to-face.
Bed or sofa?
Sofa.
Summer or winter?
Summer.
This has been another
10 tough thoughts with Alex.
And Lucas doing nothing in this segment.
I was singing a bit.
Yeah, I know. That's excellent. So, okay, so we had, again, a little bit sad about you were hesitating about the car and the motorcycle, but you went with the car. So, when
good, it's another episode.
I know.
Do we have some kind of psychological profile now? And we can stop the interview in this moment.
Well,
we
I
put
like
everything.
It's very clear. So you're a city rat. You like going out, having fine food, having a glass of wine, and then just crashing out on the couch after a walk. I love that.
You know everything about me now.
Yes.
Done.
This is why you have a second home in Paris. I just see it. It just shines through.
Yeah, but looking into buying into Milan, that's what we're going with. All right, so Biliana, please, for the ones who don't know you, who have no idea what you do, I was going to ask you, like, what do you want to do when you grow up? What are you doing now as a grown up, if you consider yourself being grown up, and who do you help?
Now, after the wine, I don't know how to start it. Well, the wine comes from Paris. I'm living in Paris, mainly between Paris and London. But the accent you're going to hear in all the languages I speak, well, I was born in Bulgaria. I think it's an important fact to say because when it comes to speaking, we can be usually very afraid of speaking in another language than ours. Just to let you all know is that today, at the moment I'm speaking, the most difficult conferences for me, it will be in Bulgarian. It's funny, but it's how it is. The language we practice the most, the skills we develop the most in the language we want to use, that becomes the first, the most comfortable zone for us to use, even when it comes to public speaking. So an important point. What I'm doing right now, I'm a scientist. This is something that will never change. I have a PhD in science. I was working in a laboratory. I got bored of the classical way of doing research. I wanted to bring research in use for people. And the way I found to do it is to be on stage and share neuroscience with big companies, with public institutions, with associations, with entrepreneurs, with every person who wants to know more about their brains. It was my biggest struggle, and now I want to help people to not struggle with their own brains. That's what I do. I speak on stage internationally. Why this silence?
Because I was just dissecting my like, wait a minute, is this reverse psychology now? We asked a question to justify, like to judge who you are, what you do in the profile, and then all of a sudden, like, now if I open my mouth, is then Biliana doing the same thing with me? It's going to be like reversed Uno cards here. That's going to be.
Okay, let's grab a glass of wine, make it more relaxed, and continue the conversation. I'm not dissecting any brain today. Yes. Yeah, we'll bring something else.
I love that. It's a very interesting journey you've done, Biliana. So you were a scientist in Bulgaria, or had you already moved when you?
In France. I was working in Pasteur Institute. My first dream was to work on the biggest burden when it comes to health. So I worked on cancer and on HIV infections. And then I realized that it was not exactly the dream I really had when I started reconnecting to what I really want to do. And the speaking appeared. But speaking appeared in a very weird moment of my life. There's one important element to bring into our conversation. Science was a very comfortable profession for me, because at that time of my life, I was someone who was extremely shy. And when my dream came to my mind, I saw myself on stage at the exact time of my life. I'm someone who cannot buy their bread in the bakery. I need a mental preparation to go and say, une baguette, s'il vous plaît. And it was so tensed inside myself. I was like, my dream is to do this, but look where I am right now. Is that really possible? And well, that's where it began.
You have to develop this, because I know for a fact someone out there who's either listening or watching this episode is going, wait a minute, maybe it's not the bakery, maybe it's not in French, but I can't even go and just, pay something at a cashier's or talk to somebody in the electronics store. How on earth did you take that to just like from that thought to this place where you're now standing on stages internationally? Was there a secret recipe that it's not secret anymore, or was it just like you overcoming it, or did you have to go back into your like the neuroscience expertise that you had and just going, okay, like what is it that goes on in here, and how can I change that? What was the process?
Well, actually, I will tell you about my process. I think for everyone it can be different, but for me, the way it started, it was very weird, because I do believe that when we have a dream and it looks so impossible in our minds, this dream even doesn't appear in our thoughts. I believe that I wouldn't have thought about becoming a speaker if I haven't seen people on stage who said that before they were shy and they could make it. So I needed first a validation that this thought eventually can be possible, even if probably it's not happening for everyone, but we have the examples of people who who have done it already, who didn't have the skill and developed it. Because in my case, there was zero talent, and I'm still working on my skills. I know that I was not born with the skills for a speaker, but I had this deep desire to share an important message. And first I needed to see that other people have done it. Second, I needed to see that it's a skill, and to be humble with myself and say, I have zero of this skill. I really have to work on it. And third, it's where the work started. I won't lie to you, a skill is developed into the action. So we learn about it, but then we need to practice it. And I will never forget, in the beginning, I started by little things. I was staying close to my comfort zone. Every time I go into a lift, I'm going to start a conversation with those people who are around me. Or when I'm outside, I'm going to ask the time of somebody who I don't know, a stranger. It started like this. But one day I was thinking and I was like, wow, Biliana, you progressed, but it's not fast enough. If you really want to become speaker in the upcoming years, you really need to make a big change, a big shift in your paradigm of how you think about yourself. And I remember this day. It was a morning. I woke up in my flat in Paris and I was saying this to myself. And then, the fears from inside, they start talking to you as well. So it becomes a conversation. And I had my fear saying, you want to speak to people, but there's nobody who is going to listen to you. You don't have an audience. Then the other voice saying, you don't have an audience? You're living in Paris and you say that you don't have an audience? What about those people who are on the tube? Go and And then
that's
the fear
pure
was like,
public speaking.
Imagine the fear from inside. It was like, no. So to release this fear, because the fear can be very blocking at this moment. And my fear was like visceral, like in the whole body. And I said, okay, you believe you cannot speak to them, but can you take a pen and paper and write some ideas? You don't need to speak to them, just write 2-3 ideas on a paper. I was like, okay, this I can do. Okay, I've done it. Okay, now can you learn these ideas by heart? And then you don't need to speak to them, just learn. So I learned the ideas. And then I was like, okay, can you put your sneakers, your shoes? Yes, I can do this. Okay, can you go out of the flat and close the door? Okay, I can do this. Can you go to the tube station? Yeah, I can do it. Can you go on the platform on the train? Yes, I can do it. Can you open the door of the train and say, hello, everyone? And then I was like, 1, 2, 3. Hello, everyone. And then this was how it began.
No,
and I love that, because I know a lot of people are going like, oh, she must have missaid something like open the doors to the tube. No, but in Paris you have to open the doors yourself, right? They don't know, like, yes. It's so, wow. But one thing that it's so brave, because I know if you would have had just started conversations in Sweden, for instance, or in Scandinavia, in an elevator, people would look at you and go literally freak, like, what? No, and they would leave on the next floor because nobody ever speaks to one another in an elevator. With that said, I'm curious about, now you, of course, you had the fear, but knowing everything about yourself and how your brain is reacting, was there ever any frustration? I was just like, what the hell? You know all of these things. You know what you can do and what you supposed to do. Is there anything that you felt that was one of those, I should have done this sooner? Was that ever occurring to you, or just like you were just going in the flow of pushing boundaries?
Well, when we have more time, I think there are many things we can do. I would have surrounded myself by people who are already in the speaking industry, or people who are at ease in public speaking. I would have subscribed to classes faster. I would have done many things, but I think when the day comes, when this fear, it's a lot of limiting beliefs. And for me, it comes also, I'm from a family where most of the members are shy. So in terms of modeling behaviors, I've been perfect on modeling shyness. And every one of us, when I look at the family, it's just like perfection when it comes to shyness. And to release all these things when the system is so blocked, at one point you have to face your fear. You can take more time and soften the fear, but there will be one day where it will be very uncomfortable in the body. And maybe the only thing I would have done earlier is to show myself that there is nothing wrong to feel uncomfortable. And it's where the energy is built. It's after uncomfortable experiences that we build so much energy. And I think fear is something that we really need to embrace in a more positive way. It's not there to block us. It's there to make us proud, to build our energy, to build our confidence. But we have to face it. And I spent like 30 years of my life trying to avoid fear, trying to make myself believe that life can be without fear, without uncomfort, with only nice people around us, with people who agree with us around us. Well, I would have loved someone to shake me faster, but for me, it came 30 years later, and it's still working. There's no age for this.
Better late than never, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
100%. But so, Biliana, just to clarify, so you opened the doors and you started talking to the whole.
I never recorded. No, I was holding my phone like this. People didn't know I was recording, but I want to make sure I've done it. It was not just a fantasy.
Wow. That is, and what happened afterwards? Like, did you start doing that regularly? Like, what was the point from doing that thing to becoming comfortable speaking? Like, you now you can stand on a stage and you don't feel that fear anymore, right? Or you, to some degree, yes, maybe nervousness is always there, fine. But so what was the end part of that journey? Opening the doors and.
Yeah, it's really the beginning, and afterwards I realized that. It's possible. So that was the first step, to say, okay, it's possible for you as well. And afterwards, it's practice, practice, practice. I started organizing free events, meetups. And I knew that I needed to build also knowledge on this, because I was just a scientist working on in laboratory. It doesn't mean you are someone who has the right way to share good ideas and who really understands life. I mean, understanding life, that's pretentious. It's almost arrogant to say, I understand life, now I can share this with people. I needed to learn more about how it works inside us. And so these free workshops were for me the ground to practice, try things, see what works, what doesn't work, have the feedback of people, and without too much pressure, because when we are paid for doing it, the pressure is increased and it's less obvious to practice. So a lot of meetups and networking. That's another element that was very important for me to open the first doors of public speaking in a professional way. When you're paid. And
trigger word warning, paid. Let's jump into that one.
Okay.
So when did you realize that this is no longer something that I'm doing just to prove it to me, help other people, but how did you see that, okay, public speaking, how can I now turn this into a business? How was that transition for you? How did you like, oh crap, people are enjoying this, I can make money of this. Well, maybe that's not going to be the important part. It's helping people. But again, still, because public speaking, and you're probably agreeing to this, is one of the best professions in life. It's the freedom, it's traveling the globe, doing things that you really love. But how did you turn it into a business?
Yes, there's one element I want to mention as well, because at that time I didn't know that it will help me later. I remember just when I stopped being officially in a laboratory, I started asking myself what I really like in science. I like science. It's not like I don't like science. Then I started learning about the brain from books. Then I was like, it would be interesting to interview people. And I enjoy this, so let me do this. So I started interviewing people who are in science. And then I finished by saying to myself that it can be really fun to go and be part of clinical trials. So me, with the electrodes on my mind, in scanners, in taking some molecules sometimes. And I was following my passion. I was just willing to know. It was very pure passion. And the thing that I was doing is that every time I'm going to take a picture because it was fun. So I take a picture of me with an MRI scanner. I will take a picture of me with electrodes. And I didn't know that it will be helpful. I didn't know that we call this branding. The word branding, I didn't know that time.
Wow.
And later on, when I started making it professional, then I realized that it was pure treasure to have all these things that I've done by curiosity and by passion. They are part of the business. So today, one big part of me being easy to sell is that she's not only a scientist, she's not only passionate about the brain, but she did experiments on herself. And we have proof for this. So this makes it really, really easy now to sell. So this is one element to search for every one of us. I do believe that everyone has a message to share. I do believe that everyone can amplify this message and not just say the normal things that everyone gonna say, but go the level beyond. So what will help people to go to the next level? Should they connect with people who are not from in the average population, or some people who did something specific in their field? Or should they do experiments on themselves in some way? In which way should they go in a specific trip to do it? This is something that everyone has to think about, how I can appear different in the same topic, that there will be always other people talking about the same topic. How can I appear different? So this is one thing to think about. And the other thing for me, it's boldness. It's to be brave and bold. These two things together. The very, very first conference I sold, it was like at the time when I practiced enough free speaking. I went through a class about being a speaker, so I was validated being a speaker after a 1-week class. My brain needed it. And then I was like, so how do we go on the market? And I remember I knew that there was one agency in Paris who is promoting speakers. And I even subscribed on their website. I created a profile. I put my conference on it. But then I was like, is it really going to be enough? They should have some hundred speakers on their website. How should I appear? How should I become visible among the others? And I remember this day when I was on LinkedIn, I found the owner of the speaking agency. It's a small agency, so there are not so many. So I found the main person and I prepared a message on LinkedIn. I never write like this, but this day I was like, be brave. What would you write if you are a brave person?
Yeah.
And I wrote something like, you are searching extraordinary speakers. I'm an extraordinary speaker. Let's talk together.
Good.
Very well done. Yep.
And I was like, oh, what if he answers?
Well, he did.
And he answered. He said,
Yeah.
Wow.
I'll never receive a message like this. Let's speak. So that's how it started.
Wow. And so through
Right.
this conversation, getting into more of the connection, well, utilizing your own networking experience, going into that then led to them starting to promote you more, or what happened?
Well, when the first conference appeared, it was from an agency. Yeah, and so of course, all the imposter syndromes got activated. We believe that when we start experiencing our dream, that's a dreamy place to be. Well, a dream can be tough.
Yeah.
So I remember preparing my first conference was a tough process between me and myself. But fortunately, we always have people around us. And I will really recommend to other speakers to find mentors, to find people who can be there with them when they start the process, because we need others for this. And I remember that when I prepared my first conference, I was thinking of how can I make this conference different? How can I be out of the box? What will be the little thing that will make it memorable and very different? And my first conference was a Visio conference because we were still on the COVID time. It was 2021, I think. And so people were gathering still on Visio. And I was like, okay, no matter if it's a Visio, there's one thing I love, it's dancing. And I was like, how can I connect this to science? How can I create something online that will include something weird? I needed to be brave as well for this one, to assume it and to do it. But it made a difference because afterwards they come to me again. They ask for a second conference. And I started being more confident of talking about myself as a speaker, because this is something that people don't dare doing. They become a speaker, they dream about being a speaker, but when you check their LinkedIn, when you check wherever you can see them on the internet, you never see that they're speakers. So how can someone hire you as a speaker if you don't mention it? And for me as well, it required courage to say, I'm a speaker and I'm selling conferences. And I'm selling it for this price, because the price can be a little bit yeah, this is how it started. I really think be brave and be different are very central of what made me succeed.
I love that. Be brave, be different.
Very, very important.
And get a bunch of images. I have been very fortunate, Lucas, to be able to watch these images where Biliana has all these different electrodes, MRI scans, whatever it is, different machines, different ways. Am I mistaken? It was one on the train as well, right? We don't have to disclose everything, but it was a train, and it didn't make any sense. And but again, cool to be different. It's cool to be different.
Yes,
Well, it is. And sorry, just one note on that, which is so smart that you did, Biliana, just documenting the journey, because people understand that they should do that after they've done the journey in most senses, which is such a powerful tool for your future. And whatever it is, at least you have a diary of where you were, not just in your mind, but an actual imprint.
Sometimes people need to be helped to dig into their own experience, because sometimes the treasure is already there and they don't see it. I wouldn't have seen it. Someone helped me to see that this is something I can use, because we don't see it. For us, it's like, oh, it's me. It's normal. I did it. I don't see the value for other people. And sometimes, speakers need to be helped to dig into their experience and see what makes them really different and unique in their own way.
Walking into this territory of standing on the stage, it's not only like you stand on stage, you watch other people as well throughout the career that you, as a public speaker. Is there anything in the niche? No, let me rephrase that. In the opportunities that you have had a chance to see people in the industry, what are like the mistakes that you go, sacre bleu merde, oh no. What is there anything specific, or do you see the golden nugget from each and every one that is standing on the stage? How do you process the good versus not so great?
Political.
Being a speaker makes you humble. Being a speaker makes you really understand what people are going through when they are on stage. And even a good speaker can have bad moments on stage. So it really makes you appreciate what is happening and see that there's always a benefit out of it. I'm going to speak from the opposite perspective. The conferences that I appreciated less good for myself, sometimes you finish a conference and you're like, oh, this was not good. Or you finish a conference, this was great. Internal perception.
Yeah.
I would say never listen to your internal perceptions. It depends very much on your state, your energy of that day. You don't really know what happened. You don't really know. And for me, life was funny because there were times that I really finished the conference and I was like, I couldn't connect with them. Yeah, that was the worst conference of my life. And now go back home, you go into your grieving process of, I'm not good enough, I should stop this profession. And then 2 weeks after, I'm going to receive a request from the same company asking me to do one more of these conferences. And I will be like, what's happening here? I don't really understand. Yeah. So on this thing, I stopped thinking about it because I believe that people get much more than just the content. They get a feeling of who you are. They connect to your universe. And one thing I would say it's central to speaking for me. It's to become more and more authentic on stage. And I'm seeing it in a progressive way because it's very difficult to say, okay, I'm going to be authentic now. Well, with all the fears that you have to deal with all the information that you have you're receiving when you see your audience and the content that you have to deliver, you shouldn't be tough with yourself. Sometimes you're less authentic and sometimes you're more authentic, and it's a process, and you search to be more and more relaxed on stage, more and more aligned with your message. It's an ongoing process. So people shouldn't put too much pressure on this one. And just prepare them as much as they can, arrive on stage, take care of themselves, all the internal sensations, learn how to manage all this heartbeat, breathing, all these changes that occur on stage. And at the end, if it's not good enough, it's not the end. It continues, and you continue improving. And you should focus on improvement, not on how it should be. It's not a fixed thing. I don't think and even maybe it becomes very difficult, even if the speaker is very good from the beginning, it can become difficult in 3 years of their career. 3 years later, it may be difficult because they repeat the same conference, it becomes boring, so they cannot connect to the same energy. So there are other difficulties to deal with later. But for me, it's like appreciate what is here and now, who you are, and do the best you can.
And this was another word of wisdom by Biliana. Thank you so much. I couldn't agree more. I second and I concur, like Chevy Chase said back in the day. All right. Not wrapping it up, I think we were leading into what is the biggest from your entire career now? Like walking the distance from not asking about bread in the bakery. I would say like a croissant or the what's the pain de chocolat? Yeah, pain de chocolat. There we go. Now, going from there to where you are now, what is the one thing that you're saying, you know what? This is the biggest takeaway I have realized, even if we said before that, okay, maybe we should have done these things sooner, but what is it that you are most proud over? The thing that you're going like, yeah, I can, put some thought to that pride that I have. Is there any moment that you can recall and feel?
Well, there's actually a lot of moments because when you follow your dreams, I mean, every step in a way makes you proud of just listening to who you are and what you want to live here. Maybe the beginning is the one that is really shaky because there's a lot to overcome. I'll never forget my very first workshop. I had no idea how good I am in speaking. That was the very, very first time. And a friend of mine organized it. It was a very weird context. My friend, he's, how you call them? It's not pastor because it's an Orthodox church, but he's the leader in a church. And he said, wow, I'm going to help you. At the end of the service, I'm going to tell them that there is a workshop of personal development. If they want to join, they can. So he announced it, and I had 3 people. They came to my workshop, and after, let's say, 15 minutes, one of them was like, excuse me, I'll have to go.
No.
I was like, oh my gosh, is it so bad? And the 2 others, I think they were just feeling so uncomfortable to go. If they could go, they would have gone. I was really bad with the way I was sharing the information. I was just scientist, scientists, you're like encyclopedia. It's not it's not a conversation. It's like opening a book. So I had to move on from this to now it's a conversation and people exist and people feel, and it's a long way. It's a long way,
Wow.
but the take home message out of it is it's just you have to start from somewhere. No matter where you are, you have to start with something, and no matter how painful it is. It was very painful after this workshop. I went outside and I remember myself crying in front of the building. Very painful, but it never stops you. If you want to achieve something and you continue doing, progressing on the thing, learning about things, doing things, at one point things are happening. I mean, it's like mathematics at the end.
Yeah. So true. So true.
Yeah, so you shouldn't just stop when there's uncomfortable, and more you embrace uncomfort, faster you progress, and then people are helping really very much outside, and yeah. When we see someone following their dreams, we want to help this person. So it's worth it to follow our own dreams, and people are gonna help us. They really do.
Yes.
They really help.
I'm a very strong believer in that. Write your dreams down and then go pursue them. Don't just sit and dream. Take some sort of action. Otherwise, we'll just. I don't want to be the person that regrets something on my deathbed.
Yeah.
I wish I. No.
Exactly.
If I want it, go and at least try. You can fail. If you fail, you at least you tried.
I'll never forget my first mentor. I was in a personal development seminar. I was in the audience. And at the end, I went to see the speaker and I said, David, can you tell me when I will be ready to follow my dream? Because it's been some time I was reading, listening, going to seminars. He looked at me and he really gave me an answer that I hated afterwards. He looked at me and he said, the way you understand be ready, you'll never be ready that way. He said, develop your courage and take action. And that was so true. Develop your courage and take action. You never feel ready the way you want it to feel. It's never like, now I'm ready, I'm going to do it.
Love this. Well, thank you, Biliana. It's been one heck of a pleasure having you on the podcast. And the funny thing is you came in as a guest referral from your husband.
Yes.
When we interviewed Io, we asked him, because we always do when we have interviews, like, who would you like to listen to on the podcast? And he was like, I have the best person that should be on here. It's Biliana.
And I have to add something on this. I cannot miss this opportunity. I have to thank him. Because we met in 2018. So how many years? 8 years ago. And the first thing that made me attracted to him was when I asked him, "What is your dream?" He said, "I dream to be on stage, to be a speaker." And my husband, he's really talented. He's charismatic. He's naturally talented. And I looked at him and I said, "Wow, that will be amazing to be in a relationship with someone. We share the same dream. We can experience the same dream." And I said, "But look at you. You're so far from it. You have to start doing things." And he was a very important person in my life who gave me the courage to take the action that was very uncomfortable. That was like, wow, if you don't do it, it's not going that way. You cannot be with this person. So he was there indirectly giving me the courage to develop my skills, to be able to one day be together on stage. And this day actually came. Alex, you know about it.
I know perfectly well about it. I'm so happy because it's a very unique. It's a unique way of doing these things. I love the approach that you're having, both mental science. It's a beautiful mixture that you're having. So guys, if you're intrigued by something, the ones who's listening now, if you're intrigued by having a real power couple on a stage that gives value and so many lessons learned, you should definitely just contact Biliana or contact IO. You need this. This is me saying this professionally. You need to listen to them because it's a different aspect of looking at public speaking.
Thank you for this, Alex, but I wanted to say you are our personal coach. We didn't precise it. And so if someone here wants to work on the skills, Alex was very big help for both of us to learn how to do the best way and to synchronize a line together. So Alex, thank you. And for the audience, you have someone who can help you.
See, now people will think, "Oh, they planned this." No, we didn't. We didn't mean to pat each other on the back. No, but it's when talent should be talent should be shown and it should be represented. So that's just generally from me to the audience and to the listeners. With that, I am curious though, as we asked the question to IO, we're going to ask you the question: is there anyone, Biliana, anyone that you can see could be in this podcast so that other people could benefit and grow in their public speaking career?
Yes, I was thinking about Shannon Jenkins, who is a speaker who recently started her career of speaking. She started by a podcast, and she really did a great podcast about personal development. She was in the top 5 of the podcasts. And I remember maybe it was 2 years ago, I was speaking with her and she said, I don't know how to switch. Now I'm perceived as someone who is having a podcast. They don't perceive me as a speaker. And now I see her on LinkedIn with a lot of conferences. So she did this switch and she did it very fast. And now she's internationally, she has a big audiences. So I think she has a lot to share with the audience.
Love that.
Nice.
Let's go and find Shannon Jenkins.
Yes. Where do the listeners find you? So if they say, "Hey, I really like Biliana, I want to figure out more," where can they find you? Do you have anything hint that they can even get a further understanding who you are?
Okay, let's
I'm just blunt.
I will start with probably LinkedIn is the best way to enter into contact with me, because if you write me a message there, I usually answer in 2 days maximum. I'm fast, let's say, on this site. My website is a place where some articles are shared, some inspiration there, some also on it, and all my services are there for people who would love to see what I'm doing. There's conferences, there are duo conferences, there are events sometimes, so people can find more. And the last thing that is a little bit limited to only French-speaking people, but people who would love to know more about the brain and who speak French, they can go for my book, Neuro Excellence, which is easy to find on Amazon or internet. It is also translated in Turkish, soon in Bulgarian, unfortunately not in English right now. But yes, for people who speak French, would like to know more about the brain and everything I've discovered in these clinical studies and some practical tools to unlock the brain barriers, they can go on that site as well.
Wow, that's amazing, Biliana. All right, wrapping this up, I'm going to leave the word over to Lucas for the final remarks. But within that and before that, people, listeners, viewers, if you ever felt like Biliana and it's like, there's hesitation, do this, do something about it. Don't wait. If you put up the dream and you're just going to say, I have to be this good before I do something, you're never going to be ready, just like Biliana said before. So go in to www.school.com/speak. Join the blueprint. It's just $19, and where we teach you how to speak with confidence. And there's so many has walked that pathway and come out a different person, because we all know how important it is to be able to speak with that confidence whenever you talk to someone that you care about. With that said, Lucas
Thank you,
Reuterstig,
Alex.
the CEO and amateur public speaker of Headgain.
EO. Well, I don't know about you, Alex, but I like quotes, and something that will stick with me is be brave, be different. And especially develop your courage and take action. I love that. Great tips. Thank you, Biliana. It's been a pleasure to have you on the podcast. It's for you who's listening, just connect with Biliana. Do that. I have nothing else to say except for this. If you like this episode and want to hear another one, give us a 5-star review, slash us a comment on socials, send us an email on support@davidjphillips.com if you want to listen to specific topics, and just connect with us and make this podcast grow, because as this podcast grows, you grow and the world becomes a slightly better place. Thank you, and until next time,